show you guys on that. And where's the other one? Also, you should have a clip in here, and all these pieces in here, where they clipped, they should all be the same. Okay, this is all very important because you're doing, you know, an inner and an outer garment. Remember? See, all these have to be the same. They have to be all the same measurement. Because if they're not, it's not going to fit, because these pieces have to be all the same length. So, in here, you have, oh, just a second. Let me stay consistent. Also, your interfacing should be, this is the straighter grain, and this is the bias. So the bias piece of the undercolor, the interfacing also has to be on a bias. So if you didn't do that, you have to, you know, make sure you correct that. In here, again, this is just to help you line things up a little easier, to know where the crisscross is. Again, when you come into the corners of the upper color, corners should always be, you know, in these corners, because we're going to be trimming later on. You have to change to a number 1 stitch. You should change to a number 1 stitch. Okay. I thought I was going to get started on this earlier, but things never work out the way we want to, aren't they? Always something. So, these notches, this is your shoulder seams, and then there is one for the center back and shoulder seams, okay? So let me make sure I'm going to be, now, the importance is that when we put this on, we first understitch, stay stitch the neckline, which is a helper. Now, you can also clip in here, or we can see how it works out without clipping. Now, one thing that you have to remember is that when we make the seam, we're only going to sew up to where this crisscross is. You're not going to sew all the way across. The seam allowance, when you put on the color, has to be open in all directions. You cannot sew across the seam allowance. So you want to sew from this side, because you can use your stay stitch as a guide for your seam. And okay, so see, this is your shoulder point, right? So you put that right here. Accuracy is very important. You got to really follow. Now, this is as far as the, where the notch is for the color. And here is my color right here. So when I put my pin in here, I have to put it right in here. See? Okay, that first, the seam allowance is not. Also, you have to make sure that these line up like that. So we're going to start right in this corner. Oh. Wait. Now see, in here, my curve, it stretches pretty much into place, so I'm not going to force this at this point until when I press. I'm probably going to clip that. The reason is some of your fabrics are probably a little bit more raveling, so less you have to do all that, you can, in these small areas, you want to avoid making too many clips in because the stuff starts raveling on you. So in here, I got to get that first part lined up really good. So right now okay, let me get this in place. See, I'm trying to find my lineup. Now, you got to stop right there because this seam allowance, I'm going to do this different. Let me see this. Whatever it takes to get it lined up, because this here and this has to line up. Okay. Now let me do the other side. Now, I'm not sure if I should show you the whole color or if we should start with this part. But it's better if I show you the whole color because we're not going to see each other until next Wednesday. And we got to get some work done. This one is a little better if we kind of bring it in on this. That last part is a little hard to catch. Okay, as long as you know you got to stop right there where the notch is. Okay, again, I'm looking for my shoulder point. Now, we have to do this to both sides. Usually, this is the first time I'm trying to work this jacket by doing demos, because usually I don't. I just have everybody work at their own speed and I just give instructions. But it seems to, now when you have these two notches, of course you got to go in the middle of it if there's only one. It seems to work out better on some level to, me working a jacket alongside of you. Has that been helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I always thought that it would be take up too much time, but I think once you understand, when you see it, you can finish it better for yourself, right? Okay, so that's one. And then this one is the same way, only it's part of it is the lining, see? So it's better to work this with the garment part on top because, oh, where's my scissor? Did anybody see it? Preparation is always a pain in the neck somehow, right? Because it takes up more time than you really want to. This is such a funny curve that when you first try to pin this, you have to keep it. You have two different shapes, an inner and an outer. And So this first part is always kind of hard to tame. Basically same thing as the other one. Now sometimes in this part you can find a little difficulty with the lining depending on how much you stretch things while you were working with these pieces. You know, that's why the stay stitch is so important to bring. Now see, if I have too much in here, that means I have to clip this. If it doesn't, because it's actually an inner curve, so you can clip it. The only reason I didn't clip is I'm trying to, it's, you know, it's an inner outer curve just like the princess seam. You got the inner neck and then you got the curve of the collar, the outer curve. This is what's so interesting when you get into sewing, because it's really like sculpturing. You constantly confronted with inner, outer, you know, different shapes being sewn on top of each other. So the clipping and notching is really important, right? Now, when you take an inner curve, and you turn it outward, what do? Clip or notch? It's going to be in your test.
Are we having a test?
Yes, you are going to have a test in the end of common sense questions, like, what do you do when you take an inner curve and you turn it outward? Do you clip or notch? First question.
I think it would clip. Clipping?
Right, because it needs to be stretched.
Yeah.
Right? When you take an inner curve and you turn it up, it needs to expand, right? Like this one.
Yeah.
So then you clip, but when you bring an outer curve inward, which makes it smaller or more in a way, then you have to take the little triangles out, which is notching. So
we need to start practicing our questions.
Yeah, I'm trying to feed them in here a little bit. What's interfacing? Why do you use interfacing?
It's for I think it's to reinforce certain areas so that they look better on the finished product.
Especially areas for buttonholes, buttons,
Yeah.
collars, waistbands, you know, plackets. They reinforce. What is this? What is a stay stitch?
That's just like a temporary stitch.
Well, that's basting.
Oh, sorry. You're right. Basting. A stay
Basting
stitch.
is a temporary stitch. Stay stitching is to support and to outline certain areas.
I always confuse those two.
Yeah, I know. It's stay stitching is.
So is stay stitching the one that's tighter?
Yeah, you only stay stitch on a single layer, like the necklines or armholes. They never a seam.
Yeah.
That's a, you know, on a single layer like this. You know, you stay stitch to outline and protect the neckline from stretching.
And then the base stitch is the one that we do like 4 or 5.
It's a temporary stitch.
Yeah.
I always confuse
Holding,
those two.
you know, like things in place to figure out a fitting or, you know, stuff like that. Then there's a couple questions on machine parts.
Machine parts. Oh, remember I didn't know how to
what's
thread
what?
the machine.
What's what?
I didn't know how to thread the machine on the last day.
There's some multiple choices in there, though. It's not something that
She
you
was
should
like,
have to
"You
worry
don't know
about.
how to thread the machine, and how did you sew the skirt?"
Okay, so
terrible.
here we got these two things, and I need to sew them.
I had your hair.
The